Hi everyone, Thao here. So when I think of respectable mid-range phones, a few come to mind. There's the Galaxy A54 from Samsung, Apple's got their iPhone SE, and Google's got the Pixel 7a. You could even throw the 6a from last year into the mix. Well, OnePlus has another option they want you to consider. This is the newly launched OnePlus Nord N30. And with a price tag of $300, it's cheaper than all the phones I just listed. First of all, this has three things that are becoming more and more rare on phones these days. It has a headphone jack. Haven't seen one of those in a while. You actually get a charging brick in the box, a decently fast one too. And because it has a micro SD card slot, you can easily add up to 1 terabyte of storage. Those are legit selling features, especially for the budget conscious buyer. So we're off to a good start. The design is a little on the bland side, which is okay. And I'm completely fine with the all plastic build, but man, the back of this phone attracts dust and fingerprints like crazy. If you're OCD about that kind of stuff, this will drive you nuts. There's a capacitive fingerprint scanner embedded into the power button, which I personally prefer over the in-display scanners. I just find that they're just way more reliable and forgiving, especially when it comes to dry skin. This one is pretty good. I've had zero issues with it. There's also the option for a less secure 2D face unlock if you prefer that. One of the main compromises that this phone makes to hit that lower price point is the screen. This is a 6.7-inch 1080p LCD display with a refresh rate of up to 120 Hz. OLED would have been ideal, but the screen on here is perfectly fine. It'll do 550 nits of brightness and up to 680 nits of peak brightness. OnePlus says it's bright enough to use in direct sunlight, but I'd say that's a bit of a stretch. I'd like it to be a bit brighter. I do appreciate that there's a screen protector pre-installed out of the box, so that's one less thing to worry about and saves you a little money. Let me just say, the speakers were a bit of a surprise for me. It has stereo speakers that sound good, not amazing, but very respectable. What's surprising is that it gets super loud. It features what they call ultra volume mode, which is labeled as 200% volume. I measured 80 decibels at max volume and 88 decibels in ultra volume mode. So yeah, very close to twice as loud. Besides watching content or listening to music, I found that extra volume to come in handy when taking calls on speaker, especially if you're outside in traffic, for example. Yeah, these are probably some of the loudest speakers I've heard on a phone. There's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery packed inside that's comfortably got me through a full day with battery to spare. Honestly, you could probably stretch it to 2 days with very light usage. So I just finished reviewing the Pixel 7a, and this phone is definitely more efficient in terms of battery. For example, a 30-minute trip navigating in Google Maps drained 8% battery on the Pixel 7a, while the OnePlus only dropped by 5%. Overall, battery life is also pretty solid for other semi-demanding tasks like video recording or gaming. Like I mentioned, you get a 50-watt charger included in the box. It'll charge up to 80% in 30 minutes, which isn't as fast as flagship OnePlus phones, but still noticeably faster than what Samsung, Google, and Apple are doing. Now, this is powered by the Snapdragon 695, which I've personally never tested before. So I looked it up and it turns out it came out in late 2021. The benchmark numbers aren't all that impressive. It's actually the least powerful out of the batch of phones I mentioned earlier. The good news though is that for everyday smartphone things, this phone has been very smooth to use. During the past couple weeks, it's maybe stuttered once or twice. Apps might take a couple of extra seconds to load here and there, but nothing that's made me think, wow, this chip ain't cutting it. With that being said, more demanding games like Genshin Impact aren't going to run very well here. You'll barely get 30 frames per second at low settings. More casual gaming is fine, but this is not the phone you want to buy for gaming. The phone runs OxygenOS 13.1, and you know what? I actually don't mind a lot of the software experience. There were like 4 or 5 pre-installed OnePlus apps, but I was able to uninstall every single one. It has some special features like resizable floating windows and a sidebar for launching apps or shortcuts, which reminds me a lot of what you see on Samsung phones. There's quite a bit of customization options. For example, you can change the shape and size of the icons, or even use icon packs downloaded from the Play Store. You can choose from a bunch of different transitions when scrolling between home screens too. There's also this icon pull down gesture, which I think is really cool. Swiping upward on either side of the screen pulls down all the icons. Then just scrub over to the app you want to open, let go, and it'll launch that app. This is completely separate from one-handed mode and just makes using a big screen phone like this a little more ergonomic. It's not all perfect though. I find this shelf feature to be a little redundant. Why can't they just let us use these widgets on the home screen like all the other widgets? I've also been getting these pop-ups from time to time asking me for location access, which is a little annoying. If you take a lot of pictures and want the best phone for that at around this price point, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Go grab yourself the Pixel 6a or 7a. Honestly, the Pixels have spoiled me. The Nord N30 has a triple camera setup, but because there's a depth and macro lens, you're pretty much working with a single lens. It is 108 megapixels, but the picture quality isn't going to blow you away. During the day, it can get the job done, but the majority of the time, pictures come out very flat with not a lot of life to them. You can get impressive photos, but it's very hit or miss. With less than ideal lighting or with any sort of movement, yeah, you're not gonna be very happy with the results. For video, this maxes out at 1080p 60 frames per second. Once again, the footage isn't all that impressive to me. It's perfectly usable for the occasional clip here and there though. Look, the $300 price point for this phone is very attractive, and I can see a lot of people giving it a shot just for that reason alone. It also has a headphone jack, expandable storage, and still comes with a charger in the box. And those are also very good reasons to choose this phone. At $300, you can't deny there's some good value here. But here's the thing, nothing else about this really stands out other than maybe these super loud speakers. If you want to steal customers away from the big boys, especially here in North America, you gotta bring something special, right? Even when you consider the update policy, OnePlus is lagging behind. But hey, it's cheaper, right? It's honestly a decent option for a mid-range phone. There's no real deal breakers in my opinion. If you're sick of Apple, Google, or Samsung and want to try something different, the Nord N30 is worth a look. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'm out of here. Bye!